Hello, everyone, and welcome to the iSpring Solutions webinar series, where every week we talk about e-learning trends, share iSpring tips and tricks, and cover clients' cases. My name is Paulina. I'm the community manager at iSpring, and I will be the moderator for today's webinar, where we will be talking about advanced quiz making for better learner retention. And this is actually the second webinar in the series about creating tests and quizzes. And during the first session, we were talking about some basic steps that you need to take in order to create some great content for your learners. And during this session, we will dedicate our time to some advanced techniques for better content for our learners, because otherwise it doesn't matter. And my presenter today and our presenter today will be Paul Bander from Technical Support Department. Hi, Paul. How are you doing?
Hi guys, hi Paulina. Doing good, thank you. How's it going for you?
Going pretty well, and I am super excited for today's session, and maybe even I will learn something new today. All right, so guys, if you will not be able to sit through the whole session, no worries, because it is being recorded, and you will receive a link to replay sometime after the webinar. However, at the end of the session, we are going to have a Q&A with Paul. So if you have any questions, it's the best time to address them to our presenter. So make sure to stay till the very end. In order to send your questions, just use the box which you will find on the right side of the GoToWebinar panel, somewhere at the bottom it should be. And please keep those questions coming. We will definitely take care of them. And at this point, I think we are ready to begin. Finally, yay! So, Paul, I am passing the mic over to you.
Thank you, Paulina. Okay, let's get started. So today we'll be taking a look at some of the Quizmaker's not so obvious features, some of the more advanced things like branching. We'll take a peek into drag and drop, and we'll learn about more stuff about Quizmaker in general. 2 weeks ago, we did a session on Quizmaker 101, you can call it. Then we learn how to create various questions, how to edit feedback, how to change the quiz type based on your task. And if you want to watch the first session, the link will be in the chat. And today we'll start off by talking about branching. So branching is a feature that allows us to send our learners down a different path in a quiz based on what answers they pick. I will be using this quiz about Las Vegas that I found on our website for a quick demo. And this first demo, there will be two different approaches to using branching. The first one will be about separating your quiz into two different sections and kind of having two quizzes in one. So this is how it looks. We have our Las Vegas quiz. That's the intro slide. And the first slide after that is where we select our difficulty. If I select normal, then I'll go to this question. It's a hotspot question. So if I answer, I will arrive on the results slide. It's a pretty small quiz, a short one. And if I restart it, but now if I select the advanced level, let's just pretend that those questions are different in difficulty levels. So this one is a different one. Because I choose a different option in the first question, it took me to this question now. And what do you think the answer is? Probably because he was so rich, he bought the hotel. And that's correct. Now I'm also arriving at my results screen. So that's the first method of using branching. And now I'm going to show you how to implement that in a real quiz. I'm going to open this Vegas quiz with only two questions and an intro slide. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to split this quiz into two groups, just for simplicity. Gonna click on question group right here and drag my first question into this group, then click on the group and rename it. It's gonna be the normal difficulty group. And the second question group that I already had, it will be the advanced level. Okay, so we added 2 groups. What are we gonna do next? The next step will be to add a survey question to do our branching. For this, we click on the question button and select multiple choice. I'm gonna drag it to the top, and I think I'm gonna create a question group for this one too, just to see it separately from the rest of the questions. Okay, now it's in its own separate question group, and I'll name it selection, because this is where the selection is gonna be made. Okay, I'm gonna click on the multiple choice question now and change its type to survey. So I'm changing the type of it to survey because I don't want this question's results to affect my quiz results. It's pretty straightforward. Next, I want to check if feedback is disabled. It is. And disable shuffle answers. The question will sound like this. Which difficulty would you like to select? And then we'll change the answers. The first one will be normal, and the second one will be advanced. And we're gonna remove the third option because we don't need it now. Now that we have our question ready, we can go ahead and change branching on the right side in slide options to by choice. What it's gonna allow us to do is branch out from each of the answers to different questions or to different question groups. For example, if I want to branch out the normal response to, let's say, the normal group, I can select beginning of group normal difficulty, and then do the same for the advanced answer, but now branch it out to the advanced difficulty group, like this. Let's preview it now. So now if I preview this quiz and I select normal, I'm gonna see the hotspot question first, and when I respond to it, I'm not gonna see my results, but instead I'm gonna see the second question, which should be the second group. So I'm not really supposed to see it. What's really wrong about this setup? The wrong thing is that we also need to branch out from both of those 2 questions to finish quiz. The way you do so is you select the question and look at the branching section here and select finish quiz for both correct and incorrect responses. And we'll do that for the second one too. It doesn't matter that the result slides are right afterwards, because we might want to add something after this question in the future. So I'm just going to branch to finish quiz. Now if I preview that, you will see that it works exactly as in my demo I showed you before. If I go to normal and answer the question, I will arrive straight to the result slides. And I won't ever see the second question group because this was the difficulty that I selected. Now that's for the first approach. The second one will require us to add our branching to the end of our quiz rather than to the beginning. I'm going to show you another example I prepared. So this is the same Las Vegas quiz, same questions. We select difficulty. Let's select the advanced option and we answer, he bought the hotel. By the way, have you seen the Aviator movie? It's a great one. So now the quiz shows us this question. It's also a feedback one, and it asks us whether we learned something during the module. Let's say yes. When I pick the answer yes, it will now show me this essay question type. And here I'm supposed to type in something about what I learned during that quiz, during my learning module. Let's say I think I can tell now that Howard Hughes was rich, and we're going to submit that response. And that again takes us to the results slides. And mind that any response you give as a student to that quiz, it will be recorded if you're using an LMS or if you send your results to email. So this feedback is really something that you will be able to evaluate as an instructional designer. Now I'm gonna start the quiz again and select the normal difficulty, give an incorrect response, continue, and now I'm gonna say, no, I didn't learn anything during this training. So now another question will pop up. Let us know how we can improve this module. And I'm gonna say, since there are only 2 questions, I think they really should have put more effort into this. So I'm gonna provide that as a feedback and send my results. Now, same as with the first implementation, we'll take a look at how that's made. Let's create yet another question group and name it feedback. That's not necessary, but I just like to do that to have a visual representation of each of the sections of my quiz. And I'm going to add one multiple choice, one essay, and another essay into that group. The first question will be, as you remember, did you learn something during that module? I'm going to remove the third answer option and make it a survey question. Now I'm going to branch by choice, as I did before, and set branching to go for option 1 to the first essay, and for the option number 2 to the second essay. And I will also change those options to yes and no. Okay, now from this essay, we first need to change the text to what exactly did you learn? Because the answer that leads to this one is yes. And for this one, it's going to be, what should we improve? And that's for the no answer. Now, there's definitely something wrong with this setup right now. I think I need to finish setting up branching for those 2 essay questions, because as you remember, if I answer this question now and select the first option, yes, I will be taken to this first essay question, and then I'll see the second one. So I need to go to that question and set branching to finish quiz. And do the same for the second essay question. Now remember those 2 hotspot and select from lists that I showed you before? We also need to change branching now and make it lead to that multiple choice that I just created. It's kind of like a tricky thing at the first glance, but not really. So we're gonna set it to go to slide number 4. And in this case, to slide number 4 also. Let's do a preview. Now when I preview this quiz, I can go through normal, answer the question about the highest building in Las Vegas, select yes, and then I'm supposed to answer this essay question and give my feedback. So this is how you use branching for difficulty selection and for feedback. There are some other applications. I'm sure you will be able to come up with something for your specific, but yeah, that's a good place to start. Now, the next thing on our agenda. Yeah, I also wanted to mention that when you use branching, the results are only being calculated based on the questions that you viewed. The ones that you didn't see during your attempt, they will not be counted in the results. So the ones that I'm missing, I'm not going to see them in the results. Okay, now I'm going to change the quiz really quick to a bigger version of the same Vegas quiz. And I'm going to do that because I want to show you how randomization works. I know we've seen group randomization, like you can shuffle questions within a group, but there are also some other options like shuffling between the groups. So here's how to do that. Here's my question, and I'm going to add a question group to split that quiz in two, like this, and I'll just drag half of this quiz, 6 of 12 questions into this new question group. Okay, so right now we don't have any randomization options enabled, and Lawrence will be seeing questions in the exact same order that we see in our question list in QuizMaker. Now, if we turn on random selection, as we did in the first webinar, like this, for both groups, the question order within each of those groups will be randomized. So this one can come up first in this group, and this one can come up last. But group number two will still follow group number one. But if we go to properties and go to this thing called question list, we will be able to enable shuffling between the groups. And when we do that, there will be no way to predict what the order of our question is going to be. It's just going to randomly select from both groups. There are some other options like randomly selecting a number of groups, like 1 of 2. That's also doable. Let's disable that because I'm going to use my branching again, and branching doesn't really work well with shuffling all questions in the list. So I'm going to disable that. Okay, let's see if we would like to still use that same branching setup, but we would have 2 question groups with 6 questions in each, and we would like to randomize the question order. What we can do. I'm going to copy those into my smaller quiz, like that. So those will now be a part of the normal difficulty group, and I'm also going to copy the rest of the bigger quiz and put it into the advanced group. And that one should be the last one. Okay, let's enable randomization again. So now what's going to happen is if I launch this quiz and go with the normal group, for example, I'll stumble upon this hotspot question that has branching sooner or later. And when I stumble upon that question, I will see the results right after that. Yeah, so here it is. I will go straight to my results without even seeing the entire group. So how can we fix that? The way you can fix that is you can link this question to the bottom of the group. You need to right click on it and select that option link, like link in Zelda, and link it to bottom of group number 1. Then you right click on this one and select link to bottom of the group number 2. What's going to happen now is that all of the questions except for the last ones will be randomly displayed, so they will be shuffled, but the last ones will always appear at the last position in the group. So you will see all questions before advancing to this last one, and then finally moving on to the survey part and finishing the quiz. So that's a way how you can make shuffling and branching work, how you can make them work together. Now, let's put that aside for a second, and I just wanted to show you this little tiny feature that no one, I'm sure, not no one, but most of people don't know that exists. It's called change question type. And what it does is, let's say we have a true false question. Actually, let's take the multiple choice one. So we have multiple choice, one correct response. What if we suddenly realize that we need multiple response instead? So we need to have multiple correct responses, not just one. We can right click on the question and select change question type and select multiple response. So now, without recreating that question from scratch, we are able to change the type and quickly customize it. This option is available for almost any question type. It just differs for the different question types because some questions are not alike the others. Like for matching, we can try to change the question type and it will not give us this option because there's no question like matching. But for select from lists, this one, we can change that type to fill in the blanks or drag the words, the one that I showed you last time. So that's an easy way to save yourself time and don't recreate your question from scratch when you don't like its type. Now, the next thing, and I'm sorry that I jumped from topic to topic like that, it was really hard to find a lot of stuff to talk about in the session because Quizmaker, it's kind of straightforward, but I wanted to talk about the things that nobody talks about. So for the next topic, I wanted to talk about how to develop quizzes for mobile devices correctly, and especially for smartphones. I'm gonna go back to, just gonna undo the changes and remove my questions, go back to the simple type of quiz. And what I'm talking about is how media gets displayed on smartphones, especially pictures and video. I'm going to go to slide view, take this survey question and insert an image into the question. Okay, where's my image folder? It's right here. Okay, so that's for my first image. I'm going to preview the slide. This is the desktop preview. So that's the way you see your quiz on a computer. And if I switch to smartphone preview, what happens? Where's my image? The thing is that I inserted that image for slide view. Now let's take a look at form view. I'm going to insert the same image, but through form view. And you see how I'm not able to insert an image and a video at the same time. Only one thing can be inserted. I'll show you why that is so. Okay, so now if I preview on the desktop, it'll look like this. I should have changed the layout, but it's okay. If I switch to smartphone view, I also can see the image now. The difference is that this time I was inserting the image through form view. Now let's try a different thing. I'm going to go to slide view and insert a second image in addition to that one of a car. And I'll probably change the layout. Okay, let's do a preview again. Same as what we see in slide view. No surprises in the PC preview. And when we go to smartphone, the second image is also gone again. So we're starting to understand that using slide view, we cannot really insert images and see them on smartphones then. Why does it happen? When you view a quiz on a desktop computer, you see your questions as slides. They look like PowerPoint slides. And the way they look is how you set them up in slide view. On smartphone, the smartphone player makes them look like a scrollable page, basically like a website. And if there's many answers in the question and maybe the text of the question is really lengthy, you will need to scroll down. So it's not the same view as on desktop. And what happens is that Quizmaker needs to automatically reformat the content. So it needs to apply certain layouts, like the question text comes in first, then there's an image, then there are answers. If we would take both images from the desktop view and put them one after another, since we lost the positioning of the desktop mode that we had, it will probably make no sense. So we cannot just take all the images from the desktop view and put them one after another. That's why if you have more than one image that need to be displayed on the same slide in a quiz, it's better to combine them into one image using PowerPoint. You can group your images together and then save them as pictures or something like that. So then you'll have two images at one. But this limitation, it has certain exceptions. For example, if we create an info slide and we go to form view to edit the info slide, I'm going to put my mouse cursor in the description field and click on picture and select the car picture. And then I'm going to put the cursor further down below the car image, put some text in it. I'm going to insert the second image I have. I'm sorry, Govard. And I'm going to preview this info slide. The way it looks on a desktop computer is also a scrollable page. So you probably understand that if I go to smartphone now, to smartphone view, I will see the same thing. I now see both images. So this limitation doesn't work for info slides. And using info slides with branching or with linking them to your question groups or to your other questions like that, you can link them together and make them appear before your question comes up. You can avoid that limitation of using just one image in a question. You can put an info slide first and then your question without any images. Okay, let's unlink that. The second exception to that rule is feedback. Okay, I'm gonna leave that image here and I'm gonna go to slide view to edit this question's feedback. Let's remove that image and let's select the answered feedback layer. Now to insert an image into a feedback message, you also need to left click in the text field, like the description box, Not really sure how's that called. And then you click on the Insert tab and click on the Picture button. Now again, I'm able to insert that image into the scrollable page, and I can also insert a second one, and it will be displayed right under that. There's actually no limitation on how long this page can be. And I'm going to preview the slide, and you will see that again on. Oh, I broke my branching system. Okay, I'll need to preview the entire thing. Do I really have feedback? Oh, okay, I'm sorry about that. I'm gonna enable feedback real quick. Yeah, now it should work. If we pick any response and submit it, you'll see that I see both images on desktop, and on smartphone, it's the same thing. I also see both images. So that's the second time that this limitation doesn't work when you use info slides and feedback. I'm sure some of you didn't know that, so remember that when you're making your next mobile-ready quiz with Quizmaker. Okay, for the final segment before the Q&A session, we'll have some fun with a drag and drop question. And before we start to look into that, I think Paulina had a poll for us. I mean, she wanted you to pick one of the answers on the screen. And the question is, do you really use the drag and drop question type? It doesn't matter if you have iSpring Quizmaker or any other authoring tool. Just let us know. This question is fancy, but I have a feeling that not everyone uses it in their e-learning. So it will be pretty interesting to find out.
Paul, do you think that any question can be transformed into the form of drag and drop?
Yeah, but it will require you to use a lot of text on the screen. Like you will need to drag yes and no's onto various stuff.
Ah, gotcha. All right. Yeah, so people are saying that they are loving drag and drop. Jail says we use it primarily to match up terms.
Okay.
Okay. It's too okay. That's the different comment to a different question. All right, so let's allow, I don't know, maybe like 10 more seconds for everybody else to take the vote and let us know if they're using drag and drop type of question in quizzes.
I think an interesting technique for using drag and drop would be to have like a screenshot of a program that
Hmm.
your students need to know how to work in. And
Oh
then you
yeah.
place a mouse cursor on the side, and you need to drag the mouse cursor to a certain option that they need to click on. Like you're asking, how do you create a new user in the system, and you're supposed to drag and drop the mouse cursor. I think that would be a fun one.
Yeah, I definitely agree. All right, so I will close the poll right now and let's see what are the results. Yeah, so 67% of our attendees are using drag and drop questions in their quizzes, but still 33% don't. So maybe after this webinar, you guys will be able to change your point of view regarding this question. I'm passing the mic back to Paul.
Thanks, Paulina. Okay, so 67% guys, if you already use it, you can leave. No, just kidding. Let's start with the drag and drop question type. Um, I'm gonna create a new quiz just for the sake of using drag and drop. And create a question. Again, click on question and select drag and drop. The first thing we do here, we do not enter the text. Actually, yeah, we're gonna enter the text later. We go to slide view to add some images. So we do the graphics first and then the text and the other things. And I'm gonna pick my images that I prepared again from the internet. Okay, that's gonna be my drop zone. I'm gonna be dragging and dropping objects onto it. I think I'll crop the image using the built-in crop tool. Do it like this, and then expand it a little bit. And the question will be, which of those, you probably can't tell what's coming up, which of those toppings belongs on a pizza? And I will have two toppings. One of them does belong on a pizza and the second one doesn't. I'm gonna go to picture and select my images that I prepared for toppings. I'm gonna resize them, and the first one, the first possible topping will be iron nails, and the second one will be pineapple. So after we added our graphics, it's time to make the matching step. We go to form view, and you see that the interface changed now. We can select what we want to drag. That will be our two draggable items. Don't forget to do that for everything you want to be draggable. So just select them, even if it says no match on the right. If you don't do that, you won't be able to drag the thing on the screen. And now for the correct match, we want to pick the drop target also. Will it be the first one? Will it be the second one? I think without a single doubt, it will be pineapple that belongs on a pizza. And we'll select the entire image to match with the pineapple. Okay, so now if we preview that question, we can drag both items, but only pineapple will be correct. And I kind of don't like that the item sticks to this wooden thing in those two hands. So probably I shouldn't use the entire picture with the dough as my drop zone. What I can do is I can go to insert, click on shape, and probably select a rectangle and draw a rectangle in the middle of my dough. Then I'm gonna right click on it, select format shape, and set a transparency of 100%, make it transparent. Then remove the line. So now the shape is invisible. I'm gonna also right click on it and select rename. When you have many drop zones, many objects, it's really useful to rename your objects, especially if they are transparent and you cannot really see them. I'm gonna name it drop zone 1. Now, if I go back to form view, I can specify drop zone 1, this transparent object, as the drop zone and not use the image anymore. What it's gonna give me is I'm gonna now have a more precise positioning for my pineapple or for the nails. So this is a cool technique, not that obvious. And if I want only one image to be draggable to the drop zone, I can select this little option. If you have not spent your time looking at what options you have here, there's a whole section in addition to the usual shuffle answers and all that. So this is unique to the drag and drop question type. Take a look at it and find out what's useful. For my quiz, I'm gonna use the drop item replaces the previous one, and what it's gonna do is now if I put a new item over, it will replace the one that was there. And let's see how it works. Yeah, it did replace it. But you don't have to use just one drop target. I'm gonna go back to the question and remove this image, this area. Gonna put my toppings like this. And we're gonna insert another picture. Actually, 3 images. So you are probably asking yourself what's happening on the screen right now. What's really going on? Now I'm gonna have 2 pizzas. One is gonna be the human pizza, and the second one is gonna be the Teen Man pizza. So how do you think which topping belongs on which pizza now? Let's go to our form view. Okay, I'm gonna downsize the images just a tiny little bit. Let's remove those and start again. What we want to drag is all those objects I added on the bottom. So it's the nails, the pineapple, and the gears, metal gears. And the drop targets are gonna be like this. We're gonna select, by the way, you can drag and drop text boxes too. So if you create a text box, you can also make it a draggable object or drop something on it. For nails, we're gonna select the Teen Man pizza, and human pizza is gonna go for pineapple, and Teen Man again for metal gears. Now, how it's gonna look is, you probably can tell already. Yeah, the item replaces the previous one. I should remove that, but the idea is this, that we have 2 drop zones and we use them to drag our objects. So we have 15 minutes left. I think it's the time we kick in the Q&A session.